Does age matter when you're going for a win in the Best Actor or Best Actress category at the Oscars? I know that a lot of times people will say something like, oh, that actor is too young or too old to seriously be considered in this category. We have prejudices that sometimes come from realistic things and sometimes don't. So I pulled the statistics on this to take a look at how often age matters. It's just correlative data. I'm making a bit of a joke here. These are obviously not the major things that people are looking for when determining these things. I just thought, let's take a look at this and see how it pans out. One of the most interesting things that I saw right off the bat is that if you take a look at all 96 years for both the actors and the actresses, you wind up with the exact same average age of 44 being like perfect across both genders. I did not expect it to have a similar average across both data sets, so that's really kind of cool. Although if you look at the last 20 years, it gets a little bit different. We kind of want our women to be a little bit closer to their early 40s, 41. We kind of want our men to be a little bit closer to their late 40s and 46. So taking what we have here and applying it to the ages that we have for our current nominees for Best Actor first, it actually looks like Sebastian Stan has the best chance of winning at age 42 because there are 3 occurrences of that in the frequency of the data chart, and it is the closest to 44, which is the average. Although it is not without note that you should think that Adrien Brody at 51 and Colman Domingo at 54 are pretty close because they have a frequency of 2, so they're not out of the question. It's just that when you look at that and the average, Sebastian Stan actually has the best chance for Best Actor. Although if you look at it just in the last 20 years, it's pretty even across 51, 29, and 54. So it brings Chalamet into the mix at 29. They all have the same capacity for winning along with Brody and then Colman Domingo, but it removes Sebastian Stan from the likelihood entirely. Now looking at Best Actress, and the reality is that it's going to be Cynthia Erivo if you look at it with the overall 44 as our average, because 38 has a frequency of 4. Although 25 has a frequency of 4, it is much further away from the average number. 62 has a frequency of 3. Well, Demi Moore, I'd love to see her win, but if we look at overall, it doesn't really point that way. Now, if we look to the last 20 years in the trend, then 35 has the most frequency, which is closest to 38. 38 has 0 frequency in the last 20 years. Still pointing again at Cynthia Erivo, or now this time Demi Moore, and that's because 62 is more in the frequency of the last 20 years. We have started to recognize older actresses as worthy. And so I kind of want to lean that way because obviously I want to see Demi Moore win, and the data kind of supports it, although it is pointing a little bit more to Erivo. So if we look only at the age that people are when they would win their award as the predicting factor for whether or not someone wins Best Actress or Best Actor, my prediction for this year for Best Actor is Sebastian Stan. Unless you want to look at the last 20 years, then it is more likely to be Adrien Brody. For Best Actress, both ways point more heavily to Cynthia Erivo, although if you want to look at the last 20 years, it's likely to be Demi Moore. What do you think? Is this, yet again, another ridiculous way to look at whether or not someone wins or the likelihood that they will win?